The new God of sinlessness. The new gods of sinlessness. The new God of sinlessness. The new goddess of sinlessness. The new goddesses of sinlessness. The new goddess of sinlessness. The old God of sinlessness. The old gods of sinlessness. The old God of sinlessness. The old goddess of sinlessness. The old goddesses of sinlessness. The old goddess of sinlessness. The greater God of sinlessness. The greater gods of sinlessness. The greater God of sinlessness. The greater goddess of sinlessness. The greater goddesses of sinlessness. The greater goddess of sinlessness. The lesser God of sinlessness. The lesser gods of sinlessness. The lesser God of sinlessness. The lesser goddess of sinlessness. The lesser goddesses of sinlessness. The lesser goddess of sinlessness. The higher God of sinlessness. The higher gods of sinlessness. The higher God of sinlessness. The higher goddess of sinlessness. The higher goddesses of sinlessness. The higher goddess of sinlessness. The lower God of sinlessness. The lower gods of sinlessness. The lower God of sinlessness. The lower goddess of sinlessness. The lower goddesses of sinlessness. The lower goddess of sinlessness. The greater spirit of sinlessness. The greater spirits of sinlessness. The greater spirit of sinlessness. The lesser spirit of sinlessness. The lesser spirits of sinlessness. The lesser spirit of sinlessness. The higher spirit of sinlessness. The higher spirits of sinlessness. The higher spirit of sinlessness. The lower spirit of sinlessness. The lower spirits of sinlessness. The lower spirit of sinlessness. The major God of sinlessness. The major gods of sinlessness. The major God of sinlessness. The major goddess of sinlessness. The major goddesses of sinlessness. The major goddess of sinlessness. The minor God of sinlessness. The minor gods of sinlessness. The minor God of sinlessness. The minor goddess of sinlessness. The minor goddesses of sinlessness. The minor goddess of sinlessness. The superior God of sinlessness. The superior gods of sinlessness. The superior God of sinlessness. The superior goddess of sinlessness. The superior goddesses of sinlessness. The superior goddess of sinlessness. The inferior God of sinlessness. The inferior gods of sinlessness. The inferior God of sinlessness. The inferior goddess of sinlessness. The inferior goddesses of sinlessness. The inferior goddess of sinlessness. The ancestor God of sinlessness. The ancestor gods of sinlessness. The ancestor God of sinlessness. The ancestor goddess of sinlessness. The ancestor goddesses of sinlessness. The ancestor goddess of sinlessness. The ascendant God of sinlessness. The ascendant gods of sinlessness. The ascendant God of sinlessness. The ascendant goddess of sinlessness. The ascendant goddesses of sinlessness. The ascendant goddess of sinlessness. The descendant God of sinlessness. The descendant gods of sinlessness. The descendant God of sinlessness. The descendant goddess of sinlessness. The descendant goddesses of sinlessness. The descendant goddess of sinlessness. The transcendent God of sinlessness. The transcendent gods of sinlessness. The transcendent God of sinlessness. The transcendent goddess of sinlessness. The transcendent goddesses of sinlessness. The transcendent goddess of sinlessness. The past God of sinlessness. The past gods of sinlessness. The past God of sinlessness. The past goddess of sinlessness. The past goddesses of sinlessness. The past goddess of sinlessness. The present God of sinlessness. The present gods of sinlessness. The present God of sinlessness. The present goddess of sinlessness. The present goddesses of sinlessness. The present goddess of sinlessness. The future God of sinlessness. The future gods of sinlessness. The future God of sinlessness. The future goddess of sinlessness. The future goddesses of sinlessness. The future goddess of sinlessness. The authentic God of sinlessness. The authentic gods of sinlessness. The authentic God of sinlessness. The authentic goddess of sinlessness. The authentic goddesses of sinlessness. The authentic goddess of sinlessness. The synthetic God of sinlessness. The synthetic gods of sinlessness. The synthetic God of sinlessness. The synthetic goddess of sinlessness. The synthetic goddesses of sinlessness. The synthetic goddess of sinlessness. The progressive God of sinlessness. The progressive gods of sinlessness. The progressive God of sinlessness. The progressive goddess of sinlessness. The progressive goddesses of sinlessness. The progressive goddess of sinlessness. The regressive God of sinlessness. The regressive gods of sinlessness. The regressive God of sinlessness. The regressive goddess of sinlessness. The regressive goddesses of sinlessness. The regressive goddess of sinlessness. The ordinary God of sinlessness. The ordinary gods of sinlessness. The ordinary God of sinlessness. The ordinary goddess of sinlessness. The ordinary goddesses of sinlessness. The ordinary goddess of sinlessness. The extraordinary God of sinlessness. The extraordinary gods of sinlessness. The extraordinary God of sinlessness. The extraordinary goddess of sinlessness. The extraordinary goddesses of sinlessness. The extraordinary goddess of sinlessness. The static God of sinlessness. The static gods of sinlessness. The static God of sinlessness. The static goddess of sinlessness. The static goddesses of sinlessness. The static goddess of sinlessness. The dynamic God of sinlessness. The dynamic gods of sinlessness. The dynamic God of sinlessness. The dynamic goddess of sinlessness. The dynamic goddesses of sinlessness. The dynamic goddess of sinlessness. The land God of sinlessness. The land gods of sinlessness. The land God of sinlessness. The land goddess of sinlessness. The land goddesses of sinlessness. The land goddess of sinlessness. The sea God of sinlessness. The sea gods of sinlessness. The sea God of sinlessness. The sea goddess of sinlessness. The sea goddesses of sinlessness. The sea goddess of sinlessness. The sky God of sinlessness. The sky gods of sinlessness. The sky God of sinlessness. The sky goddess of sinlessness. The sky goddesses of sinlessness. The sky goddess of sinlessness. The God of sinlessness. The gods of sinlessness. The God of sinlessness. The goddess of sinlessness. The goddesses of sinlessness. The goddess of sinlessness. The half God of sinlessness. The half gods of sinlessness. The half God of sinlessness. The half goddess of sinlessness. The half goddesses of sinlessness. The half goddess of sinlessness. The vessel of sinlessness. The vessels of sinlessness. The vessel of sinlessness. The name of sinlessness. The names of sinlessness. The name of sinlessness. The person of sinlessness. The persons of sinlessness. The person of sinlessness. The persona of sinlessness. The personas of sinlessness. The persona of sinlessness. The personage of sinlessness. The personages of sinlessness. The personage of sinlessness. The personality of sinlessness. The personalities of sinlessness. The personality of sinlessness. The personification of sinlessness. The personifications of sinlessness. The personification of sinlessness. The image of sinlessness. The images of sinlessness. The image of sinlessness. The imagination of sinlessness. The imaginations of sinlessness. The imagination of sinlessness. The belief of sinlessness. The beliefs of sinlessness. The belief of sinlessness. The thought of sinlessness. The thoughts of sinlessness. The thought of sinlessness. The word of sinlessness. The words of sinlessness. The word of sinlessness. The action of sinlessness. The actions of sinlessness. The action of sinlessness. The reaction of sinlessness. The reactions of sinlessness. The reaction of sinlessness. The feeling of sinlessness. The feelings of sinlessness. The feeling of sinlessness. The situation of sinlessness. The situations of sinlessness. The situation of sinlessness. The circumstance of sinlessness. The circumstances of sinlessness. The circumstance of sinlessness. The environment of sinlessness. The environments of sinlessness. The environment of sinlessness. The relationship of sinlessness. The relationships of sinlessness. The relationship of sinlessness. The number of sinlessness. The numbers of sinlessness. The number of sinlessness. The formula of sinlessness. The formulas of sinlessness. The formula of sinlessness. The equation of sinlessness. The equations of sinlessness. The equation of sinlessness. The theory of sinlessness. The theories of sinlessness. The theory of sinlessness. The symbol of sinlessness. The symbols of sinlessness. The symbol of sinlessness. The color of sinlessness. The colors of sinlessness. The color of sinlessness. The thing of sinlessness. The things of sinlessness. The thing of sinlessness. The way of sinlessness. The ways of sinlessness. The way of sinlessness. The place of sinlessness. The places of sinlessness. The place of sinlessness. The time of sinlessness. The times of sinlessness. The time of sinlessness. The event of sinlessness. The events of sinlessness. The event of sinlessness. The result of sinlessness. The results of sinlessness. The result of sinlessness. The crown of sinlessness. The crowns of sinlessness. The crown of sinlessness. The throne of sinlessness. The thrones of sinlessness. The throne of sinlessness. The sinlessness king. The sinlessness kings. The sinlessness kingdom. The sinlessness kingdoms. The sinlessness king subject. The sinlessness king subjects. The sinlessness king's dominion. The sinlessness king's dominions. The kingdom of sinlessness. The kingdoms of sinlessness. The kingdom of sinlessness. The sinlessness queen. The sinlessness queens. The sinlessness queendom. The sinlessness queendoms. The sinlessness queen subject. The sinlessness queen subjects. The sinlessness queen's dominion. The sinlessness queen's dominions. The queendom of sinlessness. The queendoms of sinlessness. The queendom of sinlessness. The sinlessness prince. The sinlessness princes. The sinlessness princedom. The sinlessness princedoms. The sinlessness princes subject. The sinlessness princes subjects. The sinlessness princes dominion. The sinlessness princes dominions. The princedom of sinlessness. The princedoms of sinlessness. The princedom of sinlessness. The sinlessness princess. The sinlessness princesses. The sinlessness princessdom. The sinlessness princessdoms. The sinlessness princesses subject. The sinlessness princesses subjects. The sinlessness princesses dominion. The sinlessness princesses dominions. The princessdom of sinlessness. The princessdoms of sinlessness. The princessdom of sinlessness. The lord of sinlessness. The lords of sinlessness. The lord of sinlessness. The lordess of sinlessness. The lordesses of sinlessness. The lordess of sinlessness. The priest of sinlessness. The priests of sinlessness. The priest of sinlessness. The priestess of sinlessness. The priestesses of sinlessness. The priestess of sinlessness. The ritual of sinlessness. The rituals of sinlessness. The ritual of sinlessness. The shrine of sinlessness. The shrines of sinlessness. The shrine of sinlessness. The temple of sinlessness. The temples of sinlessness. The temple of sinlessness. The leader of sinlessness. The leaders of sinlessness. The leader of sinlessness. The follower of sinlessness. The followers of sinlessness. The follower of sinlessness. The natural substance of sinlessness. The natural substances of sinlessness. The natural substance of sinlessness. The supernatural substance of sinlessness. The supernatural substances of sinlessness. The supernatural substance of sinlessness. The temporal substance of sinlessness. The temporal substances of sinlessness. The temporal substance of sinlessness. The spiritual substance of sinlessness. The spiritual substances of sinlessness. The spiritual substance of sinlessness. The natural form of sinlessness. The natural forms of sinlessness. The natural form of sinlessness. The supernatural form of sinlessness. The supernatural forms of sinlessness. The supernatural form of sinlessness. The temporal form of sinlessness. The temporal forms of sinlessness. The temporal form of sinlessness. The spiritual form of sinlessness. The spiritual forms of sinlessness. The spiritual form of sinlessness. The age of sinlessness. The ages of sinlessness. The age of sinlessness. The era of sinlessness. The eras of sinlessness. The era of sinlessness. The awakener of sinlessness. The awakeners of sinlessness. The awakener of sinlessness. The awakening of sinlessness. The awakenings of sinlessness. The awakening of sinlessness. The realm of sinlessness. The realms of sinlessness. The realm of sinlessness. The dimension of sinlessness. The dimensions of sinlessness. The dimension of sinlessness. The zone of sinlessness. The zones of sinlessness. The zone of sinlessness. The frequency of sinlessness. The frequencies of sinlessness. The frequency of sinlessness. The century of sinlessness. The centuries of sinlessness. The century of sinlessness. The millennium of sinlessness. The millenniums of sinlessness. The millennium of sinlessness. The purpose of sinlessness. The purposes of sinlessness. The purpose of sinlessness. The meaning of sinlessness. The meanings of sinlessness. The meaning of sinlessness. The culture of sinlessness. The cultures of sinlessness. The culture of sinlessness. The demonstrator of sinlessness. The demonstrators of sinlessness. The demonstrator of sinlessness. The demonstration of sinlessness. The demonstrations of sinlessness. The demonstration of sinlessness. The manifester of sinlessness. The manifestors of sinlessness. The manifester of sinlessness. The manifestation of sinlessness. The manifestations of sinlessness. The manifestation of sinlessness. The presence of sinlessness. The presences of sinlessness. The presence of sinlessness. The glow of sinlessness. The glows of sinlessness. The glow of sinlessness. The goal of sinlessness. The goals of sinlessness. The goal of sinlessness. The plan of sinlessness. The plans of sinlessness. The plan of sinlessness. The book of sinlessness. The books of sinlessness. The book of sinlessness. The philosopher of sinlessness. The philosophers of sinlessness. The philosopher of sinlessness. The philosophy of sinlessness. The philosophies of sinlessness. The philosophy of sinlessness. The releaser of sinlessness. The releasers of sinlessness. The releaser of sinlessness. The release of sinlessness. The releases of sinlessness. The release of sinlessness. The variable of sinlessness. The variables of sinlessness. The variable of sinlessness. The cause of sinlessness. The causes of sinlessness. The cause of sinlessness. The effect of sinlessness. The effects of sinlessness. The effect of sinlessness. The journey of sinlessness. The journeys of sinlessness. The journey of sinlessness. The emergence of sinlessness. The emergences of sinlessness. the emergence of sinlessness, the source of sinlessness, the sources of sinlessness, the source of sinlessness, the originator of sinlessness, the originators of sinlessness, the originator of sinlessness, the origin of sinlessness, the origins of sinlessness, the origin of sinlessness, the forefather of sinlessness, the forefathers of sinlessness, the forefather of sinlessness, the foremother of sinlessness, the foremothers of sinlessness, the foremother of sinlessness, the ancestor of sinlessness, the ancestors of sinlessness, the ancestor of sinlessness, the descendant of sinlessness, the descendants of sinlessness, the descendant of sinlessness, the lineage of sinlessness, the lineages of sinlessness, the lineage of sinlessness, the heritage of sinlessness, the heritages of sinlessness, the heritage of sinlessness, the heir of sinlessness, the heirs of sinlessness, the heir of sinlessness, the co-heir of sinlessness, the co-heirs of sinlessness, the co-heir of sinlessness, the joint heir of sinlessness, the joint heirs of sinlessness, the joint heir of sinlessness, the dynasty of sinlessness, the dynasties of sinlessness, the dynasty of sinlessness, the force of sinlessness, the forces of sinlessness, the force of sinlessness, the law of sinlessness, the laws of sinlessness, the law of sinlessness, the pact of sinlessness, the pacts of sinlessness, the pact of sinlessness, the game of sinlessness, the games of sinlessness, the game of sinlessness, the mask of sinlessness, the masks of sinlessness, the mask of sinlessness, the armor of sinlessness, the armors of sinlessness, the armor of sinlessness, the sword of sinlessness, the swords of sinlessness, the sword of sinlessness, the shield of sinlessness, the shields of sinlessness, the shield of sinlessness, the force shield of sinlessness, the force shields of sinlessness, the force shield of sinlessness, the armored force shield of sinlessness, the armored force shields of sinlessness, the armored force shield of sinlessness, the champion of sinlessness, the champions of sinlessness, the champion of sinlessness, the guardian of sinlessness, the guardians of sinlessness, the guardian of sinlessness, the defender of sinlessness, the defenders of sinlessness, the defender of sinlessness, the protector of sinlessness, the protectors of sinlessness, the protector of sinlessness, the chant of sinlessness, the chants of sinlessness, the chant of sinlessness, the shape of sinlessness, the shapes of sinlessness, the shape of sinlessness, the cube of sinlessness, the cubes of sinlessness, the cube of sinlessness, the cuboid of sinlessness, the cuboids of sinlessness, the cuboid of sinlessness, the sphere of sinlessness, the spheres of sinlessness, the sphere of sinlessness, the spheroid of sinlessness, the spheroids of sinlessness, the spheroid of sinlessness, the prism of sinlessness, the prisms of sinlessness, the prism of sinlessness, the pyramid of sinlessness, the pyramids of sinlessness, the pyramid of sinlessness, the cylinder of sinlessness, the cylinders of sinlessness, the cylinder of sinlessness, the cone of sinlessness, the cones of sinlessness, the cone of sinlessness, the triangle of sinlessness, the triangles of sinlessness, the triangle of sinlessness, the circle of sinlessness, the circles of sinlessness, the circle of sinlessness, the semicircle of sinlessness, the semicircles of sinlessness, the semicircle of sinlessness, the square of sinlessness, the squares of sinlessness, the square of sinlessness, the rectangle of sinlessness, the rectangles of sinlessness, the rectangle of sinlessness, the parallelogram of sinlessness, the parallelograms of sinlessness, The parallelogram of sinlessness. The rhombus of sinlessness. The rhombuses of sinlessness. The rhombus of sinlessness. The trapezoid of sinlessness. The trapezoids of sinlessness. The trapezoid of sinlessness. The polygon of sinlessness. The polygons of sinlessness. The polygon of sinlessness. The pentagon of sinlessness. The pentagons of sinlessness. The pentagon of sinlessness. The hexagon of sinlessness. The hexagons of sinlessness. The hexagon of sinlessness. The septagon of sinlessness. The septagons of sinlessness. The septagon of sinlessness. The octagon of sinlessness. The octagons of sinlessness. The octagon of sinlessness. The nonagon of sinlessness. The nonagons of sinlessness. The nonagon of sinlessness. The decagon of sinlessness. The decagons of sinlessness. The decagon of sinlessness. The evolution of sinlessness. The evolutions of sinlessness. The evolution of sinlessness. The revolution of sinlessness. The revolutions of sinlessness. The revolution of sinlessness. The elemental art of sinlessness. The elemental arts of sinlessness. The elemental art of sinlessness. The elemental science of sinlessness. The elemental sciences of sinlessness. The elemental science of sinlessness. The elemental principle of sinlessness. The elemental principles of sinlessness. The elemental principle of sinlessness. The elemental technology of sinlessness. The elemental technologies of sinlessness. The elemental technology of sinlessness. The low elemental art of sinlessness. The low elemental arts of sinlessness. The low elemental art of sinlessness. The low elemental science of sinlessness. The low elemental sciences of sinlessness. The low elemental science of sinlessness. The low elemental principle of sinlessness. The low elemental principles of sinlessness. The low elemental principle of sinlessness. The low elemental technology of sinlessness. The low elemental technologies of sinlessness. The low elemental technology of sinlessness. The high elemental art of sinlessness. The high elemental arts of sinlessness. The high elemental art of sinlessness. The high elemental science of sinlessness. The high elemental sciences of sinlessness. The high elemental science of sinlessness. The high elemental principle of sinlessness. The high elemental principles of sinlessness. The high elemental principle of sinlessness. The high elemental technology of sinlessness. The high elemental technologies of sinlessness. The high elemental technology of sinlessness. The agent of sinlessness. The agents of sinlessness. The agent of sinlessness. The agency of sinlessness. The agencies of sinlessness. The agency of sinlessness. The amplifier of sinlessness. The amplifiers of sinlessness. The amplifier of sinlessness. The amplification of sinlessness. The amplifications of sinlessness. The amplification of sinlessness. The enhancer of sinlessness. The enhancers of sinlessness. The enhancer of sinlessness. The enhancement of sinlessness. The enhancements of sinlessness. The enhancement of sinlessness. The magnifier of sinlessness. The magnifiers of sinlessness. The magnifier of sinlessness. The magnification of sinlessness. The magnifications of sinlessness. The magnification of sinlessness. The influencer of sinlessness. The influencers of sinlessness. The influencer of sinlessness. The influence of sinlessness. The influences of sinlessness. The influence of sinlessness. The emanator of sinlessness. The emanators of sinlessness. The emanator of sinlessness. The emanation of sinlessness. The emanations of sinlessness. The emanation of sinlessness. The converger of sinlessness. The convergers of sinlessness. The converger of sinlessness. The convergence of sinlessness. The convergences of sinlessness. The convergence of sinlessness. The aura of sinlessness. The auras of sinlessness. The aura of sinlessness. The impression of sinlessness. The impressions of sinlessness. The impression of sinlessness. The intelligence of sinlessness. The intelligences of sinlessness. The intelligence of sinlessness. The sophistication of sinlessness. The sophistications of sinlessness. The sophistication of sinlessness. The genius of sinlessness. The geniuses of sinlessness. The genius of sinlessness. The polymath of sinlessness. The polymaths of sinlessness. The polymath of sinlessness. The psychic of sinlessness. The psychics of sinlessness. The psychic of sinlessness. The knowledge of sinlessness. The knowledges of sinlessness. The knowledge of sinlessness. The understanding of sinlessness. The understandings of sinlessness. The understanding of sinlessness. The wisdom of sinlessness. The wisdoms of sinlessness. The wisdom of sinlessness. The secret of sinlessness. The secrets of sinlessness. The secret of sinlessness. The mystery of sinlessness. The mysteries of sinlessness. The mystery of sinlessness. The revelation of sinlessness. The revelations of sinlessness. The revelation of sinlessness. The tactic of sinlessness. The tactics of sinlessness. The tactic of sinlessness. The strategy of sinlessness. The strategies of sinlessness. The strategy of sinlessness. The strength of sinlessness. The strengths of sinlessness. The strength of sinlessness. The might of sinlessness. The might of sinlessness. The might of sinlessness. The power of sinlessness. The powers of sinlessness. The power of sinlessness. The authority of sinlessness. The authorities of sinlessness. The authority of sinlessness. The dominion of sinlessness. The dominions of sinlessness. The dominion of sinlessness. The rhythm of sinlessness. The rhythms of sinlessness. The rhythm of sinlessness. The melody of sinlessness. The melodies of sinlessness. The melody of sinlessness. The music of sinlessness. The musics of sinlessness. The music of sinlessness. The lyric of sinlessness. The lyrics of sinlessness. The lyric of sinlessness. The song of sinlessness. The songs of sinlessness. The song of sinlessness. The dance of sinlessness. The dances of sinlessness. The dance of sinlessness. The spirit of sinlessness. The spirits of sinlessness. The spirit of sinlessness. The soul of sinlessness. The souls of sinlessness. The soul of sinlessness. The body of sinlessness. The bodies of sinlessness. The body of sinlessness. The mark of sinlessness. The marks of sinlessness. The mark of sinlessness. The promise of sinlessness. The promises of sinlessness. The promise of sinlessness. The visionary of sinlessness. The visionaries of sinlessness. The visionary of sinlessness. The vision of sinlessness. The visions of sinlessness. The vision of sinlessness. The picture of sinlessness. The pictures of sinlessness. The picture of sinlessness. The sound of sinlessness. The sounds of sinlessness. The sound of sinlessness. The tongue of sinlessness. The tongues of sinlessness. The tongue of sinlessness. The language of sinlessness. The languages of sinlessness. The language of sinlessness. The communication of sinlessness. The communications of sinlessness. The communication of sinlessness. The people of sinlessness. The peoples of sinlessness. The people of sinlessness. The society of sinlessness. The societies of sinlessness. The society of sinlessness. The fortress of sinlessness. The fortresses of sinlessness. The fortress of sinlessness. The government of sinlessness. The governments of sinlessness. The government of sinlessness. The city of sinlessness. The cities of sinlessness. the city of sinlessness, the nation of sinlessness, the nations of sinlessness, the nation of sinlessness, the civilization of sinlessness, the civilizations of sinlessness, the civilization of sinlessness, the world of sinlessness, the worlds of sinlessness, the world of sinlessness.